was 62 years of age when he was at Chibnall. He was in the First World War, fighter pilot with the Royal Flying Corps. God knows what he was doing in the RAF in in 44, 42, I don't know. But he wasn't in this world because you know, he wasn't normal. He was just like Barnes Wallis, you know.
It was
a lot has been said about Barnes Wallis, but Wing Commander Lee was hardly ever mentioned.
It was the eccentrics who came up with these
That's right,
ideas, ideas though, wasn't it?
Well, look
And
at
he had this.
the Bletchley bloke, Alan Turin. I mean, he was another
He had
weird
this.
character, wasn't he? You know.
Evidently, the Admiralty gave him this searchlight to get him off the back.
Yeah.
And he took it down to Chibnall, modified it, and he had this crew of about 4, I think there were 4 technicians, hydraulic engineers, and electricians.
Finish it off there.
Custard.
Yeah, as it's only left in it, yeah, go for it.
And the squadron
Yes, there's a bit
commander,
there, yeah.
Wing Commander Palmer,
Anybody else want more custard?
was horrified. What was happening to one of his aeroplanes? They were pulling it apart and moving the bomb bay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't really show them as very far-sighted, but I mean, I'm guessing that we must have needed a lot of blokes like that to win the war. 'Cause,
Well, the queer thing was about all this, I was going to tell you, this radar, H2S as we call it, all those years later, I came to live in Sheffield, and we lived next door to Pat, and, oh God, what was his name? Ken.
Yeah.
And Ken liked his beer. He liked to wander up to the Mother Red Cup. He liked his pint and a half every night. And the first time we went up there, he said to me, let's go up to the Red Cup and have a pint. So we went up there and we were talking. And he said, you know, what were you doing? And so I told him, I said, oh yeah. Anyway, to cut a long story short, Ken worked with Sir Robertson Watson Watt
You made that up.
on radar down near Felixstowe. Hey, Bardsey, Felixstowe. He was
names, weren't they?
I'm just writing all this down. This is the next book, I tell you.
it's
Doug's Army.
Very good, yeah.
Well, yeah. That doesn't work as well, unfortunately.
he
I'll have
knew,
to change
he
it a
knew
bit.
all about it. He knew.
Oh, you have to write that.
Just alter the war a little bit.
Now you've heard it, you
World
have to
War
write
Doug.
it.
He never was called up, Ken. He was reserved occupation, being in radar,
Yeah.
and he used to tell some good old stories. Actually, he was one of his jobs was to. The Luftwaffe used to come over and bomb the radar tower, those big towers they used to have in those days. His job was to go down and get them re-erected and what have you. And one day he was called to a radar or H2S operator at somewhere, Felixstowe area, somewhere on the East Coast. And this operator had who had a direct line to Fighter Command. And this operator had reported to Fighter Command that he had contacts out in the North Sea wasn't quite sure what they were doing.
You saw something coming, in other words.
Fighter Command poo-hooed the idea. And that was it, the first night. The second night, or second day, it happened again.
Mm-hmm.
And Ken was called. And while he was there were these contacts on the screen, radar contacts on the screen. And after about a couple of hours, these contacts disappeared. They couldn't fathom out. You have to remember this was 1941, 42, a long, long time before. I mean, we're much wiser these days, but they weren't then. So anyway, Fighter Command decided to send out a couple of aircraft to have investigate. And there was nothing there. They came back and said, nothing there. But the next day, the contacts returned again on the screen. Anyway, to cut a long story short, Ken eventually realised he'd plotted where these contacts were, and the contacts were on the Dogger Bank.
It was actually the Dogger
And they
Bank.
were